So we come with another truth-telling Tuesday, but it's a throwback because today is Thursday.
Exactly. Yeah. And we missed all of you, and I know you also missed us. And today we are so much excited with another truth telling because we as Street Superdays, we are all about sharing happiness, sharing love, compassion, and just letting you know that everything that is happening around the world and like seeing your position, what you can do as a person. And here today we are so much excited because we are at the same time celebrating the Commonwealth Games that are taking place. And I believe it's something that everybody is excited about, especially athletes and those people who are interested in sports or games. So it is something that is very much exciting. Back to you, Jennifer.
Yeah, so we've been following the Commonwealth Games as they've been happening, and yeah, loving celebrating some of the successes from both Tanzania and from Scotland. To highlight yesterday, Ailish McColgan won gold in the 10,000 meters, which is lovely because it circles back to you, Shamim, and it also circles back to her own family history with her mum having won gold for Scotland in the event, I think 32 years ago. So that's such a beautiful story coming out of the Commonwealth Games. And we know from an athlete's perspective that, you know, there are so many beautiful stories that we would love to share. But yeah, and Tanzania also has had a medal winner recently already.
Yeah, he goes by the name Alphonse Simbu, and it's something that is very exciting, you know, just seeing your country out there representing you in a good way in all these games and, you know, getting those medals, silver. I know he got silver, but it is a good start and it is a good thing that's very motivating, especially to those young Tanzanians who are into sports and, it is a figure that they can look up to and say, yes, I want to be like this person. So to me, it is something quite exciting and, you know, quite encouraging to youngsters who want to venture into sports, games, and just have fun out there.
Absolutely, or even just inspiring and being positive influences, athletes in
Exactly,
all sports, even
exactly.
if the sport isn't included in the Commonwealth Games, like athletes do have a prominence and an influence. And I guess as we focus on kind of climate and the climate crisis and what we can be remedying with that, yeah, an invitation to athletes all over to take that position and take the responsibility as well of sharing some of the less positive stories that come from it. For example, you know, today's truth telling is about the greenwashing that JP Morgan Chase have associated now with the Commonwealth Games. But shall we, as I was saying earlier, you used to run the 10,000 meters.
Yeah, I remember when I was still in school, I was a very good athlete by the way, but you know sometimes it reaches a time and you're like I don't have the right resources to do that. I don't have the right platform where I can do my talent, and you know people don't like you know appreciate you or something, but sometimes you're like oh let me just give it out and let me just be another thing and just deal with another thing. But seeing these other athletes out there doing it and you know participating all those activities, I'm like, I wish I would have had that opportunity to just you know practice and also be out there to represent my country. But because I didn't have that opportunity, then I was like, I can never kill my talent that easily. And then I was, let me just again start doing something different. And something different is just to engage in these different marathons. So now I do marathons rather than competing and everything. So I'm just now into marathons, running for different things. And just recently, I think this year, I participated in a marathon, and the marathon was run for Binti. So Binti it's a Swahili word that means a young girl, and this was basically to raise awareness during the World Menstruation Day to just because we are trying to make our menstruation a common fact of life by 2030. So it was a very nice thing doing 21 kilometers. It was a hard job, but I did it and I finally got this. And this really pushed me to knowing that I still can't do it if I can't get the platform. But I'm like, no, I need to do it for Mother Nature at the same time. And like, I'll just do marathons. But given an opportunity to be out there on those big platforms in those Commonwealth Games and Olympics, by the way, I used to love Olympics and I love Olympics up to date. So it is something that also, pushes you and encourages you to just venture into what you want. And marathons sometimes they can be, it's a way of also exercising your body, your metabolism, and just keeping fit and keeping, health. Instead of using a car, just do a marathon instead of, emitting all those gases and everything. Just do some marathon to give something back to Mother Nature and connect with nature. I believe when you are running, sometimes you get to feel the breeze and you get to feel what Mother Nature is feeling. If it's too hot, you're gonna feel it. It's like it's burning. So you're gonna feel what Mother Nature is feeling at the same time, and exercising your body and just wanting to do it over and over again.
Oh, I love this so much. There's two things that you said there that really resonated. I'll come back to Run Binti, but when you were saying, rather than going out in the car, like something that we advocate for is active travel. And yesterday even was a perfect example for me, like by walking and biking rather than taking the car. I got to meet and share a smile with so many more people than I would have otherwise had the opportunity for. And as you say, like sport is such a platform for good, a force for good, both at the individual level, like now you run for happiness and for peace of mind. And I can relate to that so much, like really enjoy running. And it's such it gives you such a positive, puts you in a positive mindset, very much so, and you feel healthy for it. But yeah, even if not an athlete, like that idea of, I love that you brought in this kind of using sport to inspire us to just think a little bit differently about how we do things in our day-to-day life as well. Yeah, that's really lovely. And thank you for sharing with us the Run for Binti marathon, because you were saying it's raising awareness and support for girls' menstrual health. And even when we're not in meetings, I tell my friends like how amazing my friend Shamim is. And one of the things that I share with them is that you have been doing some of the work that you've done before we were working together, was to go into schools. And so often what's the term? So often awareness or these campaigns will quite often try just to give. So come along, speak about girls' menstrual health and provide some of these like disposable sanitary products. Whereas, you went in with such a brilliant idea of let's empower these girls so that they can go to school to make their own reusable sanitary products and also be able to make them and sell them as well. So it also brings in income. So yeah, just sharing a little bit of the awesome work that Shamim does.
Exactly. And you find that the reusable sanitary pads they are eco-friendly. That is another way of protecting the environment without knowing you are doing it. So it is like a very great thing. And I was just when we had a conversation just recently, me and you, I think was it some few days ago, and you're talking about the thing, how do you call it, gymnastics and everything. I
Yeah.
have seen people here in this country, and I have seen like organizations that are doing that, and I really love the game, and I just really wanted to hear more about it, and just get to know how did you come to yani to love that, and what is your way forward, and how do you find the game, and what are some of the things or some of the challenges that you have experienced, especially being a woman and then at the same time doing gymnastics. To me, it's like it is a sport for men, and yeah, especially in my traditional African culture, I'll be like, that is a sport for men. It's rarely you will find women doing it, but I see you're doing it. Let's just hear about it from
Ah,
you.
yeah, so I dedicated my childhood essentially to gymnastics. And yeah, coming back to the likes of the Commonwealth Games and how celebrations of sport are such a force for good and inspirational. I remember as a child watching the Olympics, seeing the gymnastics and thinking, wow, that is beautiful. Like I want to do that. And pretty sure like within the month, my gran had us enrolled and was going to gymnastics classes, and it went from there. And yeah, I was really fortunate to kind of be supported in training and to yeah. This is why we were saying it's such a celebration, but we also read like nice to remember just what each and every athlete that is competing at the Commonwealth Games has put in to be there, because I was never competing at the point where I was Commonwealth Games, but still I would be training gymnastics 4 nights a week after school and at the weekends. Like it really was everything that I did out with school. And I loved it, like absolutely loved like every part of gymnastics. And I know, and again, like a shout out to my coaches, because really I feel like so much of what I've learned, like that dedication, that drive, that motivation, but so many life skills as well, like life lessons I learned through sport and through being a gymnast. And yeah, and even in my like it's gymnastics is hard because it's one of these sports that once you're competing at a high level, like if you want to go back to training just like 1 day a week for fun, like it's quite hard to do just for fun, both for the facilities that you need, and also just like it is such a demanding sport in terms of strength and flexibility. And if you aren't training these all like each and every day, when you step away from having been a gymnast and go back 10 years later, you realize just how difficult some of these things that you used to do without thinking about it are. So I absolutely loved my time as a gymnast, and even now I still get to enjoy for fun through going to, so like I went to an adult gymnastics class and you know still have some of those skills, but I actually find more fun in joining like there was a circus fitness class, and being able to just train some of those skills back, but in a really fun, free way. So rather than the technicality and perfectionism of gymnastics, getting involved in like circus and the creative side of it has been like just so nice. So yeah, that's my background as a gymnast, and it's so nice that you know sport has influenced both of us in different ways, like from childhood, but we still enjoy it now. Oh, and that's what's so beautiful about sport. Like it also has, you know, it's a force for good, and it's inspirational. And events like the Commonwealth Games, or the Olympics, like they bring people together in this celebration of sport. So it's really so nice to yeah be following and seeing learning each of our stories from each other that connect with sport. before before we were talking about doing this truth telling video, well, you know, I didn't know that you used to be a runner, and you didn't know that I used to be a gymnast. So it's like such
Exactly.
a nice way to really, yeah, get people inspired and talking about the positive side of things.
Exactly. And I feel sometimes sporting is also a way of it makes you realize what you're good at, what you're best at. once, for instance, we can say maybe you're good at tennis, table tennis. I used to play basketball as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, I used to play basketball, but I was like, this is not my thing. I gave up on it. Then I went to volleyball, and I was
Oh,
very good at
volleyball.
volleyball. Yeah,
Oh, when you come to
I
Scotland, you should definitely find some. Well, I don't even know. I haven't played volleyball in Scotland, but I really enjoyed playing volleyball when I did.
Yeah, so it is also something that I do, and but with that one, I have not found the right platform right now or the right way to do it. So, but the talent is still within me. Once something is your talent, it'll always be your talent. So
Oh,
it's still within me, and if given the platform or the opportunity, I can show my talents and be like, wow. And I love my height. My height allows me to play volleyball, to play basketball, table tennis, golf. Though
oh,
I'm not that good, but yeah, so it
yeah.
is like, different, you just doing different things makes you connect with your body, connect with others, and it's just all the same as we say, connecting with nature. So sports make you connect with yourself, connecting with others, and at the same time connecting with Mother Nature. Because some of these sports, sometimes you do them. I remember I used to do them barefoot, and you get these bruises, and it is a cause you're running for, or it is a cause you're playing for, and this makes you feel like, oh, Mother Nature is all this stuff. So
Oh,
if I don't look after her, then
absolutely.
yeah, if I don't look after her, then she will get tougher. So sports are nice.
Oh, definitely. And that's so nice because like it also teaches us so much. Like this is my most recent mountain
Exactly.
biking. Yeah, I also have a bruise to go with it. But yeah, as you were saying this, sport, it's got such the positive as well for mindset and also teaching life lessons. Like I dedicated my childhood to gymnastics. And this is one thing also to remember as we're watching and celebrating the Commonwealth Games. Like, I was never good enough at gymnastics to be representing at the Commonwealth Games. But I was still like to be an elite gymnast, training after school 4 nights of the week and at the weekends and through the school holidays. It really was something that you dedicate yourself to. But it brings like it teaches you so many like brilliant lessons. And as I reflect as well, like I realized that by having been dedicated to gymnastics, I actually avoided like a lot of the maybe like negative or it helped me through puberty, and I had like friends and coaches that made sure that I didn't go, get distracted by going and drinking after school as a child. Every day I had that gymnastics to train for, or when my friends were, drinking or experimenting with drugs, like I couldn't because of gymnastics. And I'm glad that I didn't. Whereas if I hadn't had that, who knows like what direction could have gone in. So yeah, it's highlighting that really positive benefits for ourselves, and as you say about connecting, it's not just with ourselves and others being part of a team, but also connecting with nature. And in many ways, like gymnastics allowed us to do that. We would, whenever possible, like train out on the grass or get outside from the gym. But generally gymnastics is very much like indoors, and in the gym facilities. However, like my new favorite sport, and I can't believe it took me so long to discover it, was is mountain biking. And that is perfect. Like it just combines everything, like the physical, mental, planetary health side of things, because yeah, you are outdoors. It gets you having the most fun and the most beautiful of places, and really growing that love and respect for nature. So I think we've talked enough about how brilliant and positive an influence sport can be in anyone's life. And of course, like each person is different. Like there's so many different sports that you can find your place in and enjoy. But going back to the celebration of sports that we see in the Commonwealth Games, one of the reasons for us to really discuss and share the joys that sport brings and our respect. Are you still there? Oh, you are.
I am. It's just I was just having like a bandwidth.
Ah,
I was just
okay.
trying to disconnect my devices and just remain with one device on my internet.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue. Let's continue.
No worries. So
Yeah,
but yeah,
perfect.
talking about like the positive sides of like there's so much like sport is a force for good for the individual, for connecting with others and having your own community within the sports that you do, and also for connecting with nature in many ways too. And that celebration of sports, like we really just wanted to discuss and share how positive we each see it, and how we know the dedication that each and every single athlete that is competing at the Commonwealth Games, how much has gone into them just being there. Before we really touch upon the awareness side of things that we want to bring, where JP Morgan Chase are essentially using this brilliant celebration of sport to greenwash. Yes, whilst this is a brilliant kind of the Commonwealth Games is bringing everybody together in a celebration, it's a shame that JP Morgan and Chase are what's the term, greenwashing here. And we can thank Doctors XR for bringing our awareness to it, and now we want to share the letter and bring awareness to even more people around this. Like it's really nice to be able to highlight this and use something so positive as the Commonwealth Games to show that just how complex and nuanced some of these discussions are. Because as we say, this is not to take anything away from the athletes and the beauty of such a sporting event that brings people together in such a lovely way. But we cannot accept this greenwashing from JP Morgan Chase. Absolutely not. And we want to say thank you as well, because we've blabbed on about how much it irks us to see JP Morgan Chase associated with something so lovely. However, Doctors XR actually wrote an open letter, and they probably put this better than we can. So we're just going to take the opportunity to share this letter and really use this as part of the truth telling and awareness raising. Over to you, Shamim.
Thank you. And here is the letter, and it is a very nice letter, by the way, and it is all about what we think it is not and what we think it is. So let us just see how it goes and what it is. So to whoever it may concern, this is just an open letter to anyone that it may concern. And we say, we, the undersigned healthcare professionals, are writing to you because we are gravely concerned that Chase, JP Morgan, will be the official partner for Team England, Team Scotland, and Team Wales, the official banking partner of the Commonwealth Games, and will be the presenting partner for the cycling and women's cricket T20 at the Birmingham 2022 Commonwealth Games. We are deeply disturbed that the Commonwealth Games, which strives to build peaceful, sustainable, and prosperous communities globally, should partner with a bank that has been demonstrated to be the world's biggest investor in fossil fuels, to the tune of at least $317 billion since the Paris Climate Agreement was adopted. Back to you, Jen.
As you are probably aware, overconsumption of fossil fuels is the root cause of the climate crisis. The World Health Organization states that climate change is currently the greatest threat to human health. Between 2030 and 2050, climate change is expected to cause approximately 250,000 additional deaths per year from malnutrition, malaria, diarrhea, and heat stress alone. This is no longer just a future threat. As the World Health Organization says, climate change is already impacting health in a myriad of ways, including causing illness and death from increasingly frequent severe weather events such as heat waves, storms, and floods, the disruption of food systems, increases in zoonoses and food, water, and vector-borne diseases, and mental health issues. As Save the Children and Oxfam reported this month, one person is likely dying of hunger every 48 seconds in drought-ravaged Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia because of the world's failure to stave off preventable diseases. Back to you.
So far this year in India and Pakistan, heat waves have led to the deaths of more than 90 people, with 200,000 people living in hell, suffering temperatures that have repeatedly reached 50 degrees. Climate change makes heat waves like these 30 times more likely. Air pollution directly produced by fossil causes an annual estimated 28 to 36,000 UK deaths and 7 million deaths globally. The health impacts of the continued use of fossil fuels and the failure to immediately stop all new fossil fuel investments is clear and unequivocal. Sadly, it is the global south that continues to bear the burden of the devastating effects of climate change. Many of these nations are part of the Commonwealth family.
JP Morgan Chase's continued financing of new fossil fuel projects has resulted in the bank being the target of protests around the world. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said that continued investment in fossil fuels is moral and economic madness, and that fossil fuel producers and financiers have humanity by the throat. He went on to add that for decades, the fossil fuel industry has invested heavily in pseudoscience and public relations with a false narrative to minimize their responsibility for climate change and undermine ambitious climate policies. They exploited precisely the same scandalous tactics as big tobacco decades before. It appears to us that JP Morgan's sponsorship of sporting events is done for the same reasons as the tobacco industry's sponsorship of sporting events in the past, to hide their responsibility for the massive harm done by fossil fuels. By partnering with them, the Commonwealth Committee is implicitly supporting the promotion of public harm and is complicit in the damages caused.
The science is unequivocal. The threat to public health is clear. For health's sake, we need to stop funding new fossil fuel projects now. It is unethical for this partnership to continue, and we ask that the committee urgently moves to sever all partnerships with JP Morgan Chase. Yours sincerely.
And on this case, it's from Jen and Shamim and for birthdays.
Exactly.
And yeah, like, thank you, Doctors XR, for writing this brilliant letter. As I say, we could not have put it better ourselves. As we go to the final slide here, just in case anybody wasn't sure or like understood quite what we meant by JP Morgan Chase financing the destructive fossil fuel activity, this graph here shows you the banks and how much they have invested in fossil fuel projects since the Paris Agreement was signed. And as you can see here, JP Morgan Chase aren't just the worst, they are the worst by far.
Yeah.
In terms of financing projects that are ultimately causing death and destruction and threaten the entire existence of humanity on Earth if we do not stop such behaviors. So yeah, thank you, Doctors XR, and we really hope to be able to use this truth-telling to raise further awareness, like get people talking about the fact that this is just unacceptable. Yes, we want to celebrate the Commonwealth Games, but not at the cost of our future.
Yeah, and you see, when I look at the Commonwealth Games, it's something that is, as we discussed earlier, it's, bringing people together, different people, different cultures, just coming together and seeing what the other person has or what the other person can bring on board and, competing. It is a nice thing, and that alone gives us the power to know that we got the power and we can do this, and just celebrating, seeing people celebrating together. And but sometimes it can be very angry, like just looking at these sports, the way they are, the athletes, the time that they have dedicated into all these sports and everything. But you come to look at it this way, and it is good to have partners, by the way. It's good to have partners, sponsors for events, but you at least you have to look at which kind of partner are you partnering with. For instance, we are talking about climate crisis, climate change, and everything. But how are we trying to fix this? Are we trying to fix this by creating more problems? When you look at JP Morgan and everything, trying to be like being part of the Commonwealth Games or part of the sponsors and partners of the Commonwealth Games, this alone shows us that it is okay for us to be, to be sponsored or to be funded or to partner with somebody who is, or just, it's all about greenwashing. How are we going to do, how are we going to tell the future generation that we want a green future, we want a good future, we want a fossil fuel free future, when we have somebody who has been investing in that sector so much, being one of our sponsors? You cannot convince me that way. You cannot come to me and tell me, oh, we are trying to fight, the exploitation of fossil fuels and everything. But when I come to my house, I turn on that TV, I see the Commonwealth Games going on, and one of the sponsors comes out, and somebody that I know what they have been contributing towards the destruction of Mother Nature, and I'm like, they are one of the sponsors, and I'm like, what? Then nobody can tell me anything about an environment unless we are trying to bring this of more of a personal beneficial thing, individual beneficial thing, rather than putting it into practice. And that is why we are saying, for us, we are more action. We need action right now. We just don't need people to tell us what to do or what not to do. We just need action, because the right time to serve the planet is now, by the way, because if we don't do it right now, then that is it. We are done, because we cannot say we are going to protect the planet by planting trees. It is coming to a time whereby even planting trees is not going to help solve the problem, because the problem is already there. And if we cannot have the right people in agitating or protecting the environment, then we are all doomed. And I remember the last time we shared this, I was like, the good thing about Mother Nature is that she's just sitting and watching you, and she's like, okay, go on with all business as usual, business as usual. And then at the end of the day, she knows what she is doing, because she can survive without us, but we cannot survive without her. That is why we bring humanity, like in everything of environment, it's all about humanity. What can humanity benefit from this? If humanity doesn't benefit from it, then it is not our business. But it's high time we look into that and see who is sponsoring what, and what are we partnering with in trying to create awareness and trying to bring people together. So to me, that is my take. It's more of a greenwashing thing, and also more of a thing that you preach what you don't. I don't know how to put it, but you're just preaching what you're not, what you don't do, or something like that. So
Yeah.
let us just, what we say, let's do what we say. If you're saying we are into protecting the climate, the environment, fighting climate crisis, let's do that. Let's see the actions through such things. You might see it as a very small thing, like it's not, it's just a thing that is gonna pass. But there are some people out there who are watching and saying, then somebody cannot come and preach to me about climate change and everything. If JP Morgan is sponsoring that, then don't preach to me about climate change. It's nothing to me. It's just a common thing that I hear everybody talking about it.
Oh, absolutely. And it's what's really a shame is that, the Commonwealth Games in itself is not necessarily out there to advocate for climate change. Like I wish it would. I wish it would give every athlete a platform to share their concerns and allow them to speak freely about what they would like to see different to achieve climate justice, because I don't doubt that almost every individual athlete and everyone that is contributing to make these Commonwealth Games a successful celebration of sport have their personal views on the climate crisis. But what I really like, what really irks me with this greenwashing from JP Morgan Chase is that, you know, we are so aware of the damage that they do and how they are so responsible for like such a large amount of the climate crisis that we see. They are facilitating it through financing. And then, but in the same vein, it could be seen that the JP Morgan Chase are facilitating the Commonwealth Games through financing it. And that's a positive thing. We don't want to take that away. We don't want to take away the positivity of something like the Commonwealth Games, or, you know, any sporting event that brings people together in such a lovely way. And then the Commonwealth Games also, it does allow for this like cultural exchange and everything too. But it's the same thing that we saw with big tobacco, that the JP Morgan Chase are preying on cognitive dissonance. So by taking people, you know, getting people to see their logo or see them associated with such a positive thing like the Commonwealth Games, almost allows people like that cognitive dissonance that, oh, it's okay, like we won't pay attention when they destroy the planet. So yeah, I'm so grateful that we were able to see this greenwashing, and hopefully can share it through today's truth telling in a way that raises awareness and helps people to say, you know what, we love the Commonwealth Games. I would love to say I don't care how it happens. I would like to see it happen. But when you have somebody like JP Morgan Chase that are literally threatening our future, I physically, I can't say that. Like, and it pains me. Like it's heartbreaking for something so joyous such as the Commonwealth Games to be somewhat overshadowed by that, you know, the eco grief that is triggered by seeing somebody like JP Morgan Chase, who are, you know, not only destroying our livelihoods and stealing our future, but they're also profiting so much from it while so many of us suffer. And so yeah, whether you're sat at home enjoying watching the Commonwealth Games, like, yeah, we do the same, and really want to celebrate all the positivity with it. But whilst JP Morgan Chase are sponsoring that, and while we are not talking enough about it, whilst we are not holding them to account for their actions, both their actions in destroying our planet and their actions, like this letter says, in terms of greenwashing, using something like the Commonwealth Games to reduce their responsibility in the climate crisis, like it's just not acceptable. So whether you're sitting at home watching the games, like, now you know, now you can choose what you do with that information. If you're an athlete that's already competed and want to talk about this, like, honestly, don't let anybody hold you back. Like, your opinions are yours. And every bit of sponsorship, like if you're worried about losing sponsorship over speaking out, surely that questions those that are sponsoring you more so than anything else. And whilst we're stuck and tied into, well, you know, needing sponsorship to be successful, then it's going to be really difficult to, like, yeah, untease just how manipulative the banks and the likes can be. So yeah, let's raise awareness and encourage anybody and everybody. Let's celebrate the Commonwealth Games. Let's celebrate our athletes, but let's not let JP Morgan Chase get away with this greenwashing.
100% with love.
With love.